Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the afternoon conference of the National Electoral Commission. We apologize for the missing conference slot at 12 o'clock, but the Commission will offer your explanation. Stefan Jaworski, the chairman of the Commission, has the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to announce that we are holding this conference during the break of a session of the National Electoral Commission, which is devoted to our IT system. And in particular, it is unsatisfactory operation. The system, however, is in operation. We have the results from 104,000 out of 120,000 voting protocols, and at 3 o'clock we have recorded the following results. Partial results of the borough, town and city mayors. The turnout 47.42 out of 277,000 elected borough, town and city mayors. The results of the voting was recorded in 1,100 boroughs. The municipality elections, out of 247 boroughs, 700 have been the results in 700 were determined. The district and provincial vote results have not been determined yet. Excuse me, corrects himself the speaker. Out of 314 districts, 63 votings were determined. We do not have yet, as of yet, the results of the voting to the municipality councils. As far as the town and city results are concerned, as I announced at 9 a.m. in Białystok, 100% of the protocol were already entered in the system. Tadeusz Truskawski received the most of the votes, followed by Jan Dobrzyński with 34.16%. In Bydgoszcz, 99.51% of the protocols were entered. The winner is Bruski Piotr with 37.06%, followed by Dąbrowicz Konstanty 19.87%, followed by number 3, Geralik Marek Hendryk 19.64%. In Gdańsk, 97.76% of the protocols were entered in the system. The winner is Adamowicz Bogdan with 45.99%, followed by Jaworski Andrzej 26.25%, and third, Ewa Lider 12.29% of the votes. In Gorzów, 100% were entered. The winner is Piotr Jacek Wójcicki with 60.59% of the votes, followed by Tadeusz Jędrzejczak with 17.29%. In Krakow, 94.66% of protocols were entered. The winner is Jacek Maria Majchrowski with 39.15%, followed by Wojciech Marek Lasowa with 26.99% of the votes cast. In Katowice, 100% of the protocols were entered in the system. The winner is Tomasz Marcin Krupa with 43.09%, followed by Stanisław Andrzej Sośnierz with 22.09%. In Kielce, 100% of the protocols were entered. The winner is Jerzy Wojciech Lubawski with 55.69%, followed by Krzysztof Adamczyk with 20.90%. Lublin also, the 100% of the protocols were entered in the system too. The winner is Jan Krzysztof Żuk with 60.13%, followed by Grzegorz Muszyński 30.56%, in which 93.78% of the ballots were recorded. Zdanowska Elżbieta, 54.10%, is the winner, followed by Maria Jona Kopczyńska with 22.84%. In Olsztyn, 97% of protocols were entered. Jerzy Czesław Małkowski with 39.58 is the winner, followed by Władysław Piotr Grzymowicz, 25.43%. Opole, 100% entered. The leader is Arkadiusz Wiśniewski with 47.51%, followed by Michał Aciepa with 21.13%, followed by Tadeusz Jarmuziewicz, 19.71%. Poznań, 99.21% of the protocols were entered. Ryszard Grobelny with 28.70 is the winner, followed by Jacek Jaśkowiak, 21.45%, followed by Antoni Tadeusz Dziuba with 19.52%. In Rzeszów, 98.92% of the protocols were entered. The winner, Tadeusz Ferenc, with 46.31%, followed by Andrzej Szlachta, 22.44%. Szczecin, 99.50% of the protocols were entered. The leader is Tomasz Piotr Krzystek with 46.19%, followed by Anna Małgorzata Wit-Jacyna with 17.75%, followed by Lesław Artusza Ławka, 13.14%. Toruń, 91.67% were entered. The leader is Franciszek Michał Zalewski with 70.26%, followed by Izabela Joanna Szering-Wielgusz with 17.34%. Wrocław, 85.10% of the protocols were entered. The winner is Franciszek Rafał Dudkiewicz with 42.43%, followed by Mirosława Agnieszka Stachowiak-Różecka with 25.77%. And Warsaw, capital city, 57.56% of the protocols were entered. The winner is Beata Hanna Gronkiewicz-Waltz with 47.11%, followed by Robert Jacek Sasin with 27.48 or 47%. As far as the percentage polling results are concerned, the borough, town, city mayors, and as far as the election committees are concerned, the PSL election committee received the most votes in Lublin with 38.15%. The direct democracy election committee received the most votes, also in the Lublin area, 0.2%. The PIS election committee received the most votes. In Podkarpackie region, 36.41%. The Civic Platform election committee received the most votes. In Pomorskie province with 22.49%. The National Movement Election Committee received 0%. The Coalition Committee of SLD, the Left Together Election Committee, received the most votes, and the Lubuskie Voivodeship or province with 37%, and Nowa Prawica New Rights by Janusz Korwin-Mikke election committee received the most votes, in the Małopolskie region, which is 1.44%. As far as the regional parliaments are concerned, the PSL received the most of the votes in the Mazowieckie region with 35.71%. The Direct Democracy Electoral Election Committee received the most votes in the Łódzkie region, 1.37. PIS Election Committee received the most votes in Małopolskie, 40%. PO Civic Platform Election Committee received the most votes, Pomorskie region 35.63%. Ruch Narodowy Election Committee received the most votes in the Mazowieckie province with 2%. SLD Coalition Election Committee received the most votes in the Lubuskie province, 15.66%. And finally, the Nowa Prawica by Janusz Korwin-Mikke received the most votes in the Opolskie province with 4.15%. Harking back on what I said at the beginning, may I announce that the National Electoral Commission, due to the current circumstances, decided that, independent of the operation of the IT system, which, as we said, is operational, however, not optimally, without the ability to give us the results that we are interested in, we have implemented certain alternative ways of adding up the voting results. As far as the basic level is concerned, the Precinct Electoral Commission, that is, the system is fully operational. We hope, therefore, that within the next few hours, we will be able to remedy the problems, to remove the defects, and failing that, we will resort to the manual vote counting system. Now we throw the floor open for questions. PAP, please. I would like to get an explanation on how would this manual procedure look. Please tell us about the mechanism, Judge. I will start off with what the chairman said, namely the system of the manual vote counting, and quotation marks will be used as an alternative. We hope that the Nabino company's system will be eventually, if I may put it this way, and I will explain what I mean by eventually, will be eventually streamlined, improved. However, without having a 100% guarantee today that the system will ultimately allow to pronounce the overall results of the voting for the local elections, the Electoral Commission decided to avoid the allegations of waiting too long before the alternative system was launched. We will initiate actions to the effect that if the deficiency of the Nabino system are not fully removed, the pronouncement of the total election results can be made as soon as possible. I would like to hark back on our announcements that we passed to you on Friday, on November the 14th, at the press conference, where we stated already then that such a possibility is envisioned, although we did hope that we will not have to resort to such alternative solutions. In order to give you a precise answer on what that alternative vote counting procedure is about, you would have to learn about the so-called segments in which the IT system is not living up to the expectations. As far as the first calculation segment, that is the entering of the results by the precinct commissions, the system works all right, so there is no need to recalculate the voting results in all the precinct electoral commissions. And that obviates the need to enter the data manual into an Excel spreadsheet or to an alternative system. The point or the failure is that the Nabino system is deficient in the top layer. I would put it this way as a non-IT person. I'm a legal person, a lawyer. It cannot produce printouts and aggregation of votes at the level of territorial electoral commissions. Having said that, once the election calculation system data entered from all the precinct electoral commissions, the territorial electoral commissions will launch the manual alternative, traditional procedure that was used a few decades ago, which is the most difficult operation because it will include the multipliers of the results, because we have the proportional systems, the voting system in place there. It will be much easier, though, to produce that aggregate data in the borough, towns, and city mayor elections, and also the district and municipality council elections, because we confirmed that because the chairman of the commission could already read that data out for you. So that's the difference between the Nabino system, electronic system, and the alternative system, which the chairman alluded to. However, there will be a need, at the end of the day, to produce not a printout from the Nabino system, but also to print out the aggregated results and protocols from all these precinct commissions in writing. So this is something the territorial commissions will have to do and sign for those protocols. We should also add one more thing to that news, namely that despite that non-Polish term, but it really explains what is going on, repairing the system, the Nabino system by the company in a patchwork system, and we received that, we were informed by the president of Nabino on Friday at the press conference, and you listen to the same words of assertions by the president that the company is at the final stage of restoring the system, repairing the system at its highest tier. After the assertions that we had yesterday and this morning, we decided that alternative procedures should be launched, and we are about to launch them right now after that press conference is concluded. Finally, I believe there will be more questions coming up. Let me state as follows. I'd like to remind you of what we told you on Friday. This cannot offer an explanation to. This is not an excuse, but it explains many things. Nabina was the only supplier that entered the tender for the Polish National Electoral Commission. So that's the first thing. And secondly, we have received a positive audit results of the system that was put in place by the company. It turned out, however, that unfortunately all the steps that were taken as part of due diligence and due care for selecting the best bidder were doomed to failure because there was just one bidder. So all the steps to verify the procured system proved not very effective because the positive opinion by the auditor turned out not to be fully fully truthful. Thank you. Next questions. IAR and TVN 25. I have the following question. As far as I can understand, the work on the system is going on to restore it, and in parallel, the members of the territorial commissions are working on the very complicated, or sorting out that very complicated voting system for the local parliaments. And we understand that the territorial commissions cannot see the results of voting coming from the precinct electoral commissions. Is that right? Not quite so, because these results can be seen in the system, but you cannot use them physically because the system is unable to print them out, nor is it able to aggregate them at the level of the territorial electoral commission. So does that mean that the results need to be brought physically to the territorial commission? Will the commission sort of write them down and recalculate manually? Well, the technique to be applied is still to be determined. I cannot tell you anything precisely. Theoretically, it is possible to photograph the results which are in the system, transfer them on some kind of media, but anyway, in any case, aggregation will need to take place because these are the results from the precinct electoral commission. I think we'll have to discuss the practical aspects of that, but please, next question, please. Okay, in how many and in which territorial electoral commissions will that manual alternative procedure have to be used? And the follow-up question, when can we expect the final result of the voting? Because as we have heard, there are not too many protocols left to be entered to the system. Could you be more detailed about the results? So, given the turnout that was determined, why are we over-flooded by the photographs and recollections of the voters who encountered ballot boxes which look like cardboard boxes, or they were missing or faulty cards or voting ballots? Who is to blame for that? An inability to prepare oneself, also given a very small turnout. And secondly, is that an ability to determine the results of votes, will that impact somehow the second stage of the electoral campaign? Right, let me start with the final part of your question. In 2010, during those elections, the official results of the elections to the councils, parliaments, and borough, town, and city mayors were pronounced on Tuesday. The voting took part on Sunday, and on Tuesday evening, the commissions pronounced their official results. And from this moment on only, the second part of the campaign will start. As far as the polling stations and the cards or the ballots are concerned, the precinct electoral commissions, including the stations, polling stations, are in the remit of the local municipality head. This is also connected with money flows, and that includes funding of extra ballot boxes, providing for facilities equipped with curtained locations where you can cast your votes, and everything else that is a part of the equipment of the polling stations is up to the local municipality head. And the National Electoral Commission disburses the funds to that effect. So if a ballot box were defective, another alternative ballot box should have been also provided for, which the National Electoral Commission already indicated. Because, you know, the ballot boxes become filled up, so and the precinct electoral commission should immediately request the local mayor to give the next ballot box at their disposal. So this was not sufficiently maintained, and sometimes the precinct electoral commissions were not assertive enough to obtain that equipment from the mayors. As at 5 p.m., we are talking about the number that the chairman mentioned, which is all those commissions which have not entered all the votes fully. The system is up and running. The protocols are being fed into it. Before we launched the press conference, we had the printing out of protocols was enabled, so we could print out the protocols from various towns and other precincts where the municipality and district mayors were elected. Could you perhaps explain the procedure? Right. If all the results, let me start from the beginning. If the system started working today, then the determination of the voting results and entry of those 19,000 protocols will take us just a few hours, between 4 and 5 hours. If, however, the system, well, the alternative system needs to be launched, as Mr. Zabłocki said, it will take us into Wednesday, because we all want to believe that the system will be put into operation, will start up again, because then it will accelerate the determination of the numbers or quotients that we need. That's our expectation, at least. All right, let me point your attention. Let me draw your attention to the fact that on Friday at the press conference, as we were hypothetically considering the launch of the alternative system, we also said about the period of time of up to 4 hours, and this is what we are maintaining. The change was that On Friday, we spoke about that as a hypothesis or a theory. Today, however, we took steps already to make those procedures operational. If the Nabino system is launched in full, then we will, of course, suspend the manual alternative procedure. I'd like to ask about the cases of violating this electoral silence. Even yesterday, the internet surface would quote the preliminary election results by supplementing the names of the substituting, let's say, vegetable names for the names of the political parties. This is a violation of the silence. Well, on Friday we have addressed those cases or incidents, and I emphasized that the role of the electoral organs, including the National Electoral Commission, is very small, limited, because this is what the law enforcement agency should take care of, and they are monitoring the internet, and also it's up to them to draw the consequences if they determine that violation indeed took place, or criminal violation indeed took place. They would put the case to the court. Now, since these are the competencies of the law enforcement, and the statements by us concerning our opinion on the individual cases that might be qualified as a violation of the electoral science is not fair. It is not up to us to give such statements. Right, did you receive the incident alerts that such cases indeed occurred? I received the info from Mr. Czaplicki that indeed the Commission also received those alerts. Talk FM, two questions. How long are you going to wait it out before the alternative vote counting system is launched? And question two, the Supreme Auditing Chamber audit, which is announced, and the words by Mr. Kaczyński, who would demand that the judges be dismissed. Jarosław Kaczyński announced that he will demand that the National Commission members or judges be dismissed because of what is happening with the IT system. Can you give us any comment? Well, Madam, when it comes to the Supreme Chamber of Auditors audit, as I said at the conference at 9 o'clock, this is an autonomous decision by the NEC, by the chamber. Every year we are audited, or the performance of the budget is audited. This audit is now ongoing till the end of the next quarter of the following year, or the first quarter of the following year, and that audit depends on the decision of the NEC and its chairman. Now, as far as the statement by Mr. Kaczyński is concerned, I wouldn't like to give any comment to that. Republika Television, Piotr Wąż. Good afternoon. Question: a specific statement of National Electoral Commission. Since you said you are not responsible for that faulty IT system, because it seems that liability lies with the company who implement this system. My question is, what should be done? And I'm talking about regulation changes and systemic changes, so as to enable the Commission to inform about the results quickly without that fuss that we are witnessing. What should be done at the systemic and regulatory level to avoid such situations in the future? We have took a very wide stance or position to that suggestion on Friday, and I do uphold whatever we said there. Namely, the whole case merits systemic decisions, political decisions, and assignment of extra funds for the purpose of electoral campaigns or electoral efforts. to avoid any problems. But I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Czaplicki to expand on that. Well, thank you. I will repeat myself. I'm sorry. The National Electoral Committee has pointed out many times the need to provide security to the IT system, and in general terms, security of the elections. The IT system being the inherent system for the purpose of determining the results of the polls should be excluded from the public procurement procedure. I also point out that the ABW opinion should be taken into consideration because they say that the terms state security includes also the security of the elections. I told you also that we have put this question forward for deliberations of the Digitalizations Commission or Committee of the Polish Parliament, which gave a favorable opinion to that. So in fact, it recommended to the Economic Committee to have this problem resolved in the systemic way. The other thing is how to appoint a contractor for such a system. And we have two ways which are the most secure. Either we find a company which is good, reputable, and robust, which would undertake to set up such a system together with our IT officers, or to create an IT group within the Polish National Electoral Commission, which would not include 5 employees as today, but at least 15, which would be able to write, to prepare, to produce a new system, electoral system from scratch, including all the modules, such as we have now, which are separated, the local elections, presidential election, Euro Parliament election, to bring them together into one platform for the Electoral Commission. But in order to do that, we need to obtain new jobs for our people and extra money for the wages. You know, ladies and gentlemen, that the work of IT officers is highly paid, and finding good officers at the wage level, which the election committee IT engineers obtain, is impossible, virtually impossible. The Electoral Commission also took the decision that we will spend at least one session on describing all the problems concerning the electoral IT system. We are going to set up a roadmap determining the relations to any external company or internal task force, so as the IT system operates in a way that is satisfactory for us, the whole country, and the whole population. These are the ways that we want to pursue, and we told you about them on Friday already. So we are not going to relinquish our idea on how to make the situation safe and sound. Well, we are facing the presidential and parliamentary elections next year. How about this? As far as the presidential elections are concerned, our IT officers assured us, and given the fact that these are rather simple elections, that from the point of view of vote counting, we will be able to use the same calculation procedure that we use for the elections of the mayors. The principle is the same. The scale is just wider. For the presidential, we are speaking about the whole country, and in the local elections at the local level. So if the system or calculator, since it's up and running and after certain improvements, we will be able to use it for the presidential elections. However, what is still left aside is the problem of reviewing the system module that was used in the parliament elections in 2011. If it is possible to use the system without big improvements, we will do so. If not, we are prepared to announced a new tender that just one company is able to win and will win. So this is something that we are pondering on now. There's absolutely we will send you a link to this absolutely very fascinating debate from the Polish Parliament. All right, next question about the tender. The tender was selected in August, so 3 months were left to test the system. 90 engineers say that it's too short a period. Who is to blame? Okay, the tender was determined according to by the law. I also told you on October 2013 we announced a new tender, a big one, for producing an IT system to cover all types of elections. For formal reasons, that system was declared invalid or voided, but happened only in January. So we had to prepare the terms of reference anew, which also takes a lot of time because we are not experienced in that matter. We sometimes use external consultants. Nevertheless, the terms of reference very important because we wanted to avoid that someone protested the result, against the result. And I do agree that happened late because everybody says that preparing a system for local elections takes a few months' worth in work. No, we were indeed after pressure. We had to move fast, and we don't want to repeat those mistakes in the future if we are, of course, authorized to monitor the elections. We will try to develop a permanent concept of delivering the system for all types of elections and upgrading that system following any changes in the electoral law, which the Commission cannot influence and which are quite numerous. So this takes, or that includes that the product is reviewed, that all the new technologies are accounted for, and so on. Are there any further questions, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you, Minister. I can't see any. If no, if there are no questions, please. I'd like to have your attention for a moment. I am now turning through you, ladies and gentlemen, to all the voters and participants of the electoral process. Please bear with us as we are taking all the actions in order to pronounce the results of the votes in a reasonable time. Thank you very much. Thank you, members of the Commission. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.